What's going on, everybody? And welcome to another fun, exciting cheat day review, where today we're going to be trying Clearly Canadian. This is a nice throwback, retro, nostalgic 90s drink that was big in the 90s. Anytime people think of Clearly Canadian, they think of the 90s and the nostalgia. Well, they are back. They have been back for a while. And today we're going to try all 5 of the classic flavors that they have brought back. And I'm going to let you know which ones are good, which ones are bad. I don't know. I've never drinking a Clearly Canadian sparkling water before. So this is a new experience for me. And yeah, we'll just see if they actually are any good, if they're worth the hype. So before we get into that, let's get into a nice, well-rounded history behind this drink, because there's a lot of cool stuff about Clearly Canadian. So by December of 1987, these were ready to go and shipped out, and they hit store shelves in January of 1988. And these are the drinks that pretty much were the very first premium, new age, new generation of drinks and beverages, you know, something more than a Pepsi or a Coca-Cola. You could go and get some of the more high-end kind of drinks. These are the ones that started it all. These got very popular during the 90s, and they are everywhere. Whenever you see any nostalgic page on Instagram or online anywhere, you're bound to see a bottle of Clearly Canadian somewhere in the mix. So as Clearly Canadian got much larger during the early to mid-90s, in 1994, Clearly Canadian decided to branch out, and they test marketed Clearly Tea and Clearly 2. And Clearly 2 was just a 2-calorie diet version of Clearly Canadian. And then in 1996, the oh-so-famous outer space-themed drinks that they really took a big, investment and put a lot of research and development into these drinks. They were a little drink called Orbitz, which everybody from the 90s remembers Orbitz because they were just so different. As you can see, there's these gel orbs that would float and be suspended within the flavored water. They were just absolutely nuts, and people bought them when they first came out because it looked really cool, right? But after just trying it, they were just kind of like, meh. Clearly Canadian sold this as a texturally enhanced drink, which, if you want to taste gel balls as you drink water, there you go. Yeah, they just didn't taste that great. I would think these would be like a 6 out of 10. I remember drinking one back then in the 90s, and it was just kind of like, yeah, it's cool, but it wasn't like amazingly awesome, It just looked really cool. Orbitz, they were ahead of their time. They would be just fine if they were released now, but back in the 90s, it was a totally different age and time. So, yeah, they flopped, and Orbitz were discontinued by late 97, and they weren't on store shelves by 98. So as Orbitz fizzled out, Clearly Canadian was still going pretty strong, but they were seeing huge competition from other larger companies selling their own style of new age, high-end beverages. So in 1998, they released a drink called Battery, which was a caffeinated berry drink. That was one thing. Then they released Clearly Canadian O+2, which was a water-based drink that was enhanced with 10 times as much oxygen than normal. And that one was targeted towards athletes. And then the last one was a bunch of different refreshers. By the year 2000, Clearly Canadian was getting less and less relevant, as major companies that were competing with them were selling far more. And Clearly Canadian was seen as a thing of the past, but they drug on, but they just really disappeared. And by 2012, they were bought out. The brand was bought out, and they wanted to revive it and bring it back to the market. So in 2013, they decided to do a pre-sale where people could order their case of Clearly Canadian, and if over 25,000 cases were ordered, Clearly Canadian would go back into production. Well, by 2015, they reached that threshold of 25,000 cases sold for the pre-sale, and it came right back. So those pre-sales from 2015 was a tiny little snowball that just kept going down that hill and packing on more, until 2021, when the brand was seen as a much larger thing again, that the company was then bought out by private investors. So by then, we had these 5 flavors out. So we had summer strawberry, mountain blackberry, wild cherry, orchard peach, and country raspberry. But by 2023, they also released a new line of Clearly Canadian Essence with 2 new flavors. One is grapefruit and one is lemon. And then just this year, Clearly Canadian released their original flavors in the form of cans. So they are steadily growing and becoming a thing once again, just like they were in the 90s. So that's pretty cool. So anyways, let's get right into it and start trying these out. I'm very excited. I haven't tried any of these ever in my life. And we will start with the Mountain Blackberry one. As you see right there. Take a break and head to the mountains. Nothing says Canadian Rockies like a sip of Mountain Blackberry from our BC roots. All right, Clearly Canadian Mountain Blackberry. Here we go. All right, I got that rather highly carbonated, sharp, sparkling water taste. But yeah, the blackberry flavor is there. I definitely taste it. It's, got an authentic, like very natural tasting blackberry flavor. Sparkling water beverage made with water from natural Canadian springs. Ooh. I don't know. It kind of tastes a little too syrupy. It's not as refreshing as I want. It definitely has a very good berry kick flavor to it. It tastes like blackberries though, so if you are a fan, definitely pick it up. So yeah, they ain't skimping out on the flavor. It's a 7 out of 10. All right, next up we've got country raspberry. Raspberries are the hardiest of fruits growing across our cold country. Clearly Canadian country raspberry is a splash of bold flavor with vibrant notes of farm fresh raspberries. Smells like raspberries. Here we go. Ooh, that's got a tang to it. It's got a far more tangier aftertaste than the blackberry. Yeah. Ooh, that raspberry kicks. Oh, brother. It's decent, though, It is all there. I gotta hand it to them. These flavors are very authentic, very real. I mean, they're all natural. So you have that going for them. I would rate the country raspberry, on all accounts, another 7 out of 10. It's right there with the mountain blackberry. It just has a bit more of a tardier aftertaste than the blackberry. So anyways, let's see here. Next up, we are going to do the orchard peach. British Columbia's peach groves are a summer delight to behold. Clearly Canadian orchard peach is a warm golden escape in a bottle, and one sip will take you there. All I can think about is that Presidents of the United States song called Peaches. Moving to the country, gonna eat a lot of peaches. I think they did that one song too, like kitty in my shoe and I wanna touch it. Something like that. Anyways, here we go. It tastes like peaches. It tastes like if you got sparkling water and you took the syrup out of a can of peaches, just the syrup in there, and dumped it in there. That's what it kind of tastes like. But not as syrupy from that can of peaches. It cuts pretty hard. Does have that taste, but man, with all of these so far that I've tried, it really does have that very sharp, sparkling water taste. So if you're looking at these as if they're like sodas, don't, because they're not like that. This is sparkling water, it's flavored. But I do have to say, this is the best flavored sparkling water I've ever tasted, by a long shot. This one does have a tarty aftertaste. It reminds me much of how the raspberry is. So yeah, I would have to give the Orchard Peach a 7 out of 10 as well, because it's spot on with the flavor and everything, but it really isn't hitting the spot for me for some reason. So I really do hope, I'm saving the last two that I think are going to be the best for last. And that's where we are with the Summer Strawberry. It says here, stop and smell the strawberries. Considered members of the rose family, they give off a sweet fragrance as they grow on bushes. Voted on by fans, Clearly Canadian Summer Strawberry is our first new additional flavor. Cool. All right. This one smells so good. It smells like strawberry soda. All right, here we go. Summer Strawberry. Imagine eating a strawberry, but you get one of the more unripened ones that aren't as sweet. That's what you taste with this. I think it's better than the other three that I've tried so far, though. That is refreshing. Very refreshing. It doesn't have much of like a syrupy kind of taste, so it's not like bogged down and loaded down. I dig that one a lot. I think Summer Strawberry is the best one. It's not like the greatest thing ever, but it's better than the others. So I would give the Summer Strawberry an 8 out of 10. All right, so that leads us with the Wild Cherry. It says, tangy and tart with the right amount of sweetness, Clearly Canadian Wild Cherry is the best of both worlds, awakening the senses with every sip. Ooh, smells like cherries. Who would have thought? Ooh, there is a very, very tart aftertaste with this. Like, it goes in like sweet, and you're like, ooh, yeah, it's smooth. I don't know what they're talking about. And then, boom, it hits with a tart taste at the very end. You know, I was thinking wild cherry was going to be really good. It just reminds me of like having a very sour kind of candy more than anything. Yeah, this one is definitely the most sour. I don't want to say sour as if it's bad, but it's definitely got some tang to it. Got a bit of a wang taste to it, you know what I mean? So I would give the wild cherry, I would give this one, I would give it a 6 out of 10 because it's not that refreshing. It's almost like you're just drinking this out of a dare more than anything. Yeah, so it's all right, ladies and gentlemen. Is the nostalgia factor here? Are these worth the hype? I would have to say no. Nostalgia paints the past with gold. And this is an occasion to say that, you know, sometimes nostalgia sucks. Sparkling water in general is kind of a bust anyways, because you're always dealing with that very tingy, sharp taste. Now, if you like flavored sparkling waters, then yeah, you're probably going to think these are good. But I'm coming at this cold, never really drinking that many sparkling waters. I will say, though, with this brand, that these are the best tasting sparkling waters. So if you have to buy a sparkling water, I would go with Clearly Canadian. But as a traditional American soda drinker, such as myself, I'm trying these. It's a whole new world, and it's different, and I'm trying to get the hang of it. But these are not as good as like a Pepsi or Wild Cherry. I would much rather opt for that. So would I recommend these to people? I would just say if you enjoy sparkling waters, go with these. But if you are just fresh, never really drank a sparkling water, I wouldn't recommend these really. Now, I gave them pretty high ratings, you know, 7s and 8s, and I gave the cherry a 6. That's just based on, is the flavor actually tasting like what it tastes like? And they all do taste very natural, and they, you know, deserve the recognition for tasting exactly as they say they do taste. Clearly Canadian is kind of, I guess if you grew up drinking it and you just have that kind of connection with it, I understand. That's the same connection I have with Pepsi Holiday Spice or Pepsi Blue or Crystal Pepsi for that matter. So I get it, you know, I understand. This just isn't in my Rolodex of memories. So me going at it as a 38-year-old man, I'm just kind of like, yeah. So if you were kind of teetering on the point of thinking these may be actually really good, I see them all the time on nostalgic web pages. They're really not. They're kind of just like, nah. But anyways, yeah, they're good at least just to try once, just to get it out of the way and say, yeah, I tried it. I'll go back to a Pepsi Wild Cherry. But anyways, there you guys go. The review of all 5 classic, clearly Canadian flavors. They're decent. They're drinkable. They're not horrible. Don't believe the hype. That's it. All right, guys. Thank you for watching. I am DJ Glowing Ice, always wanting to remind you that it is okay to cheat every once in a while. I will see you again very soon. Peace out.